a murderous ethnic killing spree.
What do they get out of this?
It was over in 90 days.
We remember everything.
This is Rwanda, a country nestled in deep Central Africa with a population of just over 13 million, and a frighteningly dark history. A history that entails the death of more than 500,000 of its citizens, and possibly the worst genocide in modern history. But how exactly did this genocide happen, and what led up to it? As with most political problems in Africa, the Rwandan genocide can be traced all the way back to the age of colonialism. Rwanda has had two colonial overlords throughout its existence, the Germans and the Belgians. The occupation of Rwanda by colonial powers began in 1899. Germany takes over what is now Rwanda, dominating the native Twa, Hutu, and Tutsi who had settled in the area long before. With the arrival of the Germans, so also arose a new class system put in place by them, who held the belief that the Tutsi, a minority in Rwanda, looked more European, and so favored them, instituting a hierarchy with the Tutsi above the Hutu. Measuring the noses and checking the eye color of the natives just to differentiate between the two. From 1914 to 1918, World War II raged on. Although there was a small East African campaign, Rwanda was largely untouched throughout the war. Importantly, with the German Empire's loss, colonial control of Rwanda switched hands to the Belgians. With their occupation, not much changed. Noses continued to be measured, eye color continued to be examined, and the Tutsi kept their place at the top of the hierarchy. That is, of course, with the Belgians firmly at the top. The Belgians controlled Rwanda until 1962, when their control was relinquished and Rwanda gained independence, free from the colonial overlords for the first time in over 60 years. The new nation of Rwanda was mostly Hutu, over 85%, with around 14% being Tutsi and 1% being made up by the Twa, a semi-nomadic tribal people that are supposed to be the first inhabitants of Rwanda. From independence till the 1990s, tensions grew. The Hutu still had it fresh in their mind how they had been treated by both the Belgians and the Tutsi, and the unjustness of the hierarchy that had been put in place. And without the Belgians to keep in place the old hierarchy with arms and soldiers, a new hierarchy was set in place, with the Hutus on top. There was no doubt a strong pro-Hutu agenda in Rwanda at this time. With the pro-Hutu agenda came an even stronger anti-Tutsi agenda, but still, no violence started until the spring of 1994, where tensions were so thick and strong that you could cut it with a knife. And it all started with the death of this man, Juvenal Habyarimana, which sparked the worst genocide in modern history. The death of the Rwandan president was blamed on the Tutsis, although who killed him is still completely unknown, with the Tutsi no more likely than the Hutu extremists. Regardless, the death of the Rwandan president culminated in the extremist Hutu radio stations saying to go to work on the Tutsi population. This is when the genocide truly began. The killing started on April 7th, 1994, in the streets of Rwanda's capital, Kigali, and spread through the country like wildfire. Over the course of less than 100 days, it is estimated that around 500,000 Tutsi died. Whether school kids, infants, or elderly, no Tutsi was safe. Many Tutsi and even Hutu, who did not wish to live in a state that had descended into anarchy, fled to neighboring countries to set up refugee camps. And although the UN provided some humanitarian aid, there was a general outcry and shock on what had happened and the lack of aid and help that had been sent to the Tutsi. Park Geun-hye, the former president of South Korea, called it the world's greatest humanitarian tragedy of the late 20th century. The Rwandan genocide only ended once a mainly Tutsi rebel force overtook Rwanda's capital, Kigali. But the damage was already done. Appointed by the RPF, the first Rwandan president after the war was Pastor Bizimungu, who helped to reconstruct Rwanda after the genocide. Although he was accused of corruption and tax fraud, he still did much to help the hurting country. Even so, it is likely that during the time it was not him running the show. Many believe that the real person in control, the puppet master, if you will, was Paul Kagame. Pastor Bizimungu's presidency lasted until 2000. This is when Paul Kagame made his move and was overwhelmingly voted to be the Rwandan president. This is where we are today. Throughout his reign that is yet to come to an end, he has utterly transformed Rwanda into one of the wealthiest countries in all of Africa, giving it the well-earned nickname, the Singapore of Africa. Starting massive construction projects and transforming Rwanda's capital, Kigali, into one of the nicest cities in Africa. Since the genocide, Rwanda's GDP has steadily grown, not once dipping except during the pandemic in 2019. Air Rwanda has become one of the most important African airlines, and Kigali has become a modern African trading and travel hub. But with all this positive change, there are murmurs that Rwanda is no longer a democracy. According to The Guardian, the Rwanda National Congress coordinator Steve Bambariki was assassinated in South Africa in the township of Nyanga. And former intelligence chief Patrick Karegeya was strangled in his hotel room. Not to mention that the former Rwandan army chief, Faustin Kayumba Nyamwasa, survived an assassination attempt barely after gunshots were fired at his car. Rumors of rigged elections are also circulating, seeing as Paul Kagame won the last Rwandan election by more than 99% of the vote, with the previous election being won by over 93%. And with Paul Kagame getting a firmer and firmer grip on power as time goes on, there is reason to believe that Rwanda is not at the end of their suffering. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. These videos take a lot of effort and would be really appreciated.